Welcome to the second episode of Hispanidad Translations. My name is Zacarias,
My name is Val from Only Getting Better.
and we're having this episode just to cover the progress from the past year since our last episode and discuss some more topics around Hispanicity. It's been a lot of positive growth, and I think more importantly, just seeing inspired and changed minds out there, kind of pushing back against the distorted narrative that we constantly hear about our Hispanic history. And again, when I say Hispanic, I think it's important that I define the term a little bit. That Hispanic doesn't mean European blooded, doesn't technically even mean Eurocentric, but it is a cultural aspect. There are natives, there are mestizos, there are blacks, there are mulattoes. There's all kinds of people throughout history who are Hispanic, and it oftentimes had a lot to do with its relationship with converting into Christianity and being involved and participating in the Spanish Empire. And that's where we have all these different Spanish-speaking countries. They're all broken up from the fall of that empire. And so, yes, just to define the term, really that it's not a racially charged term. It's a culturally charged term, and something that oftentimes people who are of Spanish-speaking countries, we oftentimes see our similarities once we come out of our countries and we find ourselves in a distant country that's not quite like ours, like maybe the United States of America here, and but we can feel that commonality, and that's what our Hispanicity is. Like Hispanidad is our commonality. So yes, if you ever hear the contrary, otherwise on the social media, I've heard indigenistas or activists who completely distort its term. That is either willfully or out of ignorance. But you got it here.
Yeah, so I just wanted to grab a brief summary of your channel and how I've seen your channel grow throughout the last 2 years, and I truly appreciate your consistency. And maybe just tell us about the growth of your channel and how you work on your videos and just your method. I mean, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, thank you. It's pretty cool. But basically, after our first podcast, it was November 2023. I had created the channel back in April of that year, and before that, even before creating the channel, I had my first podcast with someone completely different. It was not part of Hispanidad Translations, and yeah. So just seeing it grow so fast after that podcast that we had, it was crazy. It was remarkable. So I think I had close to 1,000 followers. I don't think I had 1,000 followers on Instagram. The idea was to kind of get it launched into YouTube and get it blowing up on YouTube. However, the algorithm just happened to hit us on Instagram differently. And after our first podcast, someone else reached out to me, another channel, a Hispanista channel called Hispa Unidad. I had known about them for a couple of years, actually. I follow a lot of their work. I appreciate the folks over there. They reached out to me and they wanted to interview me after that. It was online because they're in, I think, Madrid, Spain. And so after that, it kept blowing up more and more, and other folks reached out to me. Another great channel called Mexico Antes de Mexico with Eric Cardenas. Another great opportunity. Talked with him online. And then another channel called Mexico Historiador. Another great, wonderful young man, very intelligent. Super impressed by just how much he knew at such a young age. And then I had another interview with Jorge Luis Garcia Reyes, the author of the book Presidio, discussing the conquests of what is now northern Mexico and southern United States, given that these territories were part of the Spanish Empire. And yes, a very incredible man. Like he's one of my biggest references, and I can tell we're going to be colleagues and associates going forward with the new projects that are coming up for the upcoming years. And he's out in Texas. And who else is there? Then I had a nice one talking about the Spanish Black legend with Wild and Artfully Me by Jamie Powell on Instagram. Real good expert, Catholic from the East. I'm not entirely sure which part of the United States she's from, but no, she was very curious about the Spanish Black legend. Then we have Canal Hispanidad who was formerly Hispanoamérica, the creators of the documentary Hispanoamérica, El Canto de Vida y Esperanza, and the same creators of the other documentary España, la primera globalización. So they reached out to me too when I was going to release their latest documentary, and they asked me to the preestreno, to the premiere, to watch it with them, and I was really honored that they asked me. I couldn't go, I couldn't make it, but I saw a lot of other folks out there, and even the king ended up going. The king of Spain ended up going to that documentary. I mean, it hit so much viral news. Even El País, the famous newspaper over there in Spain, tried to mark it as some kind of evil right-wing thing. You know how they always do. They always try to lie on people who they don't agree with. So yeah, it's pretty cool. A lot has happened. A ton has happened, and I think the channel has about 28,000 subscribers on Instagram and about 1,700 on YouTube. So yeah, it's been very successful. And there's so many more people who have been collaborating with me on posts on Instagram, which is nice because you can kind of share separate posts, and people have been inviting me, and it's kind of become a machine that works on its own almost, because we have so many interested people from all around the world. Like, Capitan Peru in Peru. You have like Mamele Flor. Excuse me if I didn't pronounce that quite right, but she's from Ecuador. Also, she touches down in Argentina sometimes. Like, she's got folks out there that she knows. She's an amazing, strong Hispanista woman. Great, and actually very biliterate too. Very good with her English as well. Then we've got Brigada Antifraude, of course, my buddy Luis out there in Extremadura. Then Pax Hispanica, all these folks have given me such a strong start. So I appreciate all of them, and I appreciate you honestly, I appreciate you. You've been one of my greatest friends a man could ever ask for, and yeah, I appreciate you always, being there, even when sometimes, it's interesting the love, the support you get in the separate places, but it's nice to have someone at home that has been down and taking, just always hearing me out,
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like a friend. I mean, it's beautiful to see somebody fall in love with their passions. For me, they end up becoming a better human being in general. So whether it be knitting, whether it be playing sports, whatever passion calls you, to truly fall in love with it, like I've seen you, is a joy. And I'm pretty sure you bring that joy to your family, you bring it everywhere. And I know you experience that joy because you consistently want to share with me. You want to share with people. And it's not just that you have this passion, that there's a lot of quality information to it. And it does change views and perceptions of people in our own country and around the world. And for me, I mean, I've seen the videos. When you send me these videos, I take the time to look at them. I really dissect them. I read some of the books if I can, and I do as much research on my own in purpose. I mean, we actually saw the movie together.
Oh yeah.
And it was an incredible film.
Yeah.
I like this so much that I'm going to buy it for my family.
He's referencing Hispanoamérica, El Canto de Vida y Esperanza by the channel Canal Hispanidad. It's really good. And yes, like you said, right, this is about the information, right? And it comes to the point where it's not just you being a great friend, which you are super loyal, but the information is enriching. It is basically helped us in our cultural battle, right? Especially in defending our faith as well, which is constantly scoffed or belittled for its history. And this is a refreshing contextual review of our history, both as Catholics and as Hispanics.
Yeah, so maybe we could cover a little bit of the Spanish influence in the Americas and specifically the United States.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, as many of you know, conquests are not peaceful all the time. They're not peaceful. There are some areas where they can be. You have diplomacies, but it is not something that is. It is not a joyous white legend occasion, but I think that is kind of besides the point. Every single group has conquered and been conquered, whether you're talking racially, whether you're talking Native Americans or whites or black people, but also cultures. Different nations within these groups have conquered each other. So yes, as we talk about the Americas, obviously the first encounter we have begins in 1492, and we have moments where you have you have lows and highs. But then quickly we begin to see how the Spanish Empire adopts legally adopts laws and established laws for Native Americans and for its own subjects as well, right? Both in the Americas, in the Philippines, and in the peninsula, in this where Spain, what we recognize as Spain now. But yes, there's different. Just the conquest of what is now the United States has kind of occurred gradually after the fall of Tenochtitlan, and so after the Aztec Empire falls to Hernan Cortes and the many Native American tribes that he allied together with the help of Doña Marina, also people know her as La Malinche, so who happened to be crucial in this conquest, and crucial because we have this woman who speaks these different languages, understanding how to discuss through the comprehension of each side, and say something may be too strong on one end, she's the one that could have lined it on the other end. But whatever it was, these different groups came together. Whether you're talking about Tlaxcalans or other groups of Mesoamerica who helped in taking down the Aztec Empire. So after this happens, you have the conquest of north of what is Tenochtitlan, so Mexico City, and what is now Mexico City, and so you have the Chichimeca Wars, and is very tough wars that they get into with these groups who, contrary to what maybe some activists or some folks on social media might say, they're very very how do I say this correctly, maybe politically correctly, but they were extremely violent and were known to even attack innocent groups as well. So it is not quite the resistance that it's kind of seen as some superheroes against the evil Spanish. No. In fact, many Native Americans were fighting on behalf of the Spanish Empire, like the Otomis, and who fought, and they fought in these wars, and also contributed to the mestizaje, both culturally and of the people in that area. And eventually, when they realized that not just these individuals, these groups in the north, like the ones from Zacatecas, what is now Zacatecas, but they start to realize that some of the best ways to conquer, and also in a maybe less aggressive way, but it was a very effective, was by population conquest. It's a term that I've learned from Jorge Luis Garcia Ruiz, and which is basically getting lots of supplies, lots of people, lots of families, lots of different, a diverse group of individuals, you're talking mestizos and natives as well, who caravan up north, and they begin to populate and settle and start towns with overwhelming amount of people, that these individual attacks, it wasn't as dangerous. Maybe I should say it a different way, but basically they weren't isolated events where they were being attacked on their way up. And they also began to understand that sometimes giving away additional supplies instead of just being at fear, being scared of being robbed constantly, may be a better option. And so perhaps saving aside something else and giving it off. But anyways, basically what is now the southern part of the United States, you're talking like New Mexico, have Florida, but New Mexico, all Arizona, Texas, California, as we know, as you probably know, what formed part of this empire. And so much of what is in New Mexico, this is how these conquests occurred, by settling up north. There was obviously still fighting. There's still different battles, like for example, the one with Juan de Oñate, but yes, a lot less of it. And also you had legally binding restrictions to different types of conquests, especially after what had occurred with Carlos V of Germany, first of Spain, and when he detained all conquests in order to have debates discussing the morality of conquering. But yes, the first time that would have happened for an empire of a classical model. So yes, that's basically just a quick review.
Yeah.
Generally, briefly, without getting into everything, but yeah.
And what would be some signs of Spanish influence we would see in the current day? I mean, obviously we have places like that are named after Spanish, Santa Clara, these different Spanish named places. What are other areas or other things that you would?
Well, I think really importantly is the vaquero culture, the cowboy culture, and it might be a hard pill for some people to swallow, but it is a Hispanic culture. It dates way back to when the Spanish brought the first horses, brought the first cattle, and in fact, that was one of the bigger proto industries that the Spanish Empire established in the Americas. And all the even the Texas Longhorn, the bulls, they have the breeds that in Spain they have similar breeds out there that have obviously been brought here. So they're none of these important animals for this type of animal husbandry and this type of culture. They were all brought over by Spain first, and so clearly when after Mexico became independent, and then after the United States took over these areas, this culture, these infrastructures, they were already existent. And yes, they had. It's basically deeply rooted in Hispanicity.
Okay, so there's culture, there's names of certain locations and places, and what are the structures? What are these? What are some of these structures that are left behind?
You have ranches. You have missions. You have, I mean, we have the books, the baptismal records, the marriage records, funeral records. Do you basically, as Jorge Luis Garcia Ruiz himself stated, that much of southern, like in Texas, for example, physically resembles Spain more than it resembles England. And basically, even the only thing he says, he's very straightforward about it, and I appreciate it. He's like, the only thing really English here is the language. He says, but the people, the way they behave and everything, even though it's the United States of America, this culture is very Hispanic.
And what are?
Well, and then to go on too with the cowboy culture, because I know people are going to get up in arms like, no, it's Mexican, no, it's American. But realistically, let's be honest. Yes, the cowboy culture probably has evolved and it's probably adopted some new aspects, right?
Yes.
Both in Mexico and the United States. However, the origins are Hispanic, and we can see these same origins all the way in South America, where you have gauchos, right? These are vaqueros too. You have in Chile as well, all throughout South America. It's not. It's. I think someone with very little knowledge can even understand that.
Yeah, I mean Santa Barbara, they're the gauchos.
Oh yeah, I love it.
And so like to get to add on to your point, just to talk about the origin doesn't mean that they're spin-offs or they're modifications of the cowboy culture. Isn't unique to theirs. It's still, you can still take on it, and like you don't have to sit here and be like, oh, they're Spanish, I don't want anything to do with it. No, you can have the American cowboys. You can have we could have it all.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's what's beautiful about Central America
Yeah.
and the Spanish Empire, is that we have all these different flavors, and then when I meet a Mexican, right, and we share the common language, that I don't necessarily like banda, but a lot of the Guatemalans I know like banda, and the Mexicans like banda. We're up there dancing, and so we can. It's a unifying thing.
Yeah.
It's not this kind of like, well, I'm Mexican. It's
Yeah.
my banda.
Yeah.
You can't join the banda.
Well, and I think on top, I'm going to continue with the unifying aspect. This is why this work is so important. And I know we get it all the time. You think trust me, we've heard it. This is not a project to make Spain conquer America all over again. No. We talk about the Spanish Empire because it is the only global potency or power that has brought all these different regions together. The independences, and beforehand, there is no unity in this way. And so the independences have broken this unity, and beforehand there was no unity amongst the races. The Incans didn't hang out with the Aztecs.
I mean, it's just like when I think about it, like we are directly a combination between Spanish, specifically me, a combination between the Spanish and the Native Americans. And like, at least what I understood is that after the independence, a lot of these countries suffer. The indigenous populations have it.
That's true.
Not as easy as they thought they would have.
And I'd like to continue with that too, is that even people who, the select few, right, that maybe more native or pure native, right? Which we see this obsession by indigenistas of their pure-blooded native blood, and which is, let's be honest, is extremely racist. But even Native Americans in Hispanic America are extremely Hispanic, given the foods that they're eating have Hispanic influences. You know, as I said before, with the cattle, you know, just having a steak, a beef taco, even is, you know, and then also speaking Spanish or being Catholic or Christian. You know, these things are, they're not inherently native, and so it needs to constantly talk in these racially charged terms is a mistake.
How would you say the relationship between the indigenous changed after the Spanish left?
Oh yes,
For each country,
yes,
right?
yes.
Because each country had its own independence.
Yes, yes. So I'm not sure how many of you know this, but throughout the 16th century, there were the laws of the Indies were established, and so as they were begin as these laws were being established, many rights for Native Americans were being put forth, and that's not only what it was, but it also protected the it also protected like 8-hour work days. It was actually the first reference of an 8-hour work days come from these laws, which this is, I'm talking back in the 16th century, so you're talking the 1500s. We're talking from all kinds of things, whether you can have like a chapel within the mines, or you can have just all kinds of things. So being away from the dangerous parts of mines, whatever the case may be, there's very detailed laws. But all this goes out the window when these countries, our countries of now, or Hispanic American countries now, get independence. And many of these countries become oligarchies, I would say, and they have oligarchs. And they begin to react and act in self-interest, act in power. A lot of these independences were over power. They're not these grassroots movements that we've been told from either the movies or by maybe a professor. They're absolutely not. In fact, you see Native Americans fighting on behalf of the Spanish crown all throughout Hispanic America, and also being depleted for doing so, being punished for doing so. And yes, and fortunately, to be fair, Hispanic America did not commit the same amount of abuses as North America has to its native populations, which is on a whole nother level. But yet, yes, once the Spanish Empire broke down, they were kind of in a limbo with these communities. And so that's why you have individuals like Zapata, you know, the forever praised Zapata by these same indigenistas who want to fight the power, you know, the authority. Well, guess what? In one of his claims, he's asking for these Native American rights from the viceregal times. These are viceregal rights for these Native American territories. He's calling them back for his people, for the people, against the Mexican government. And yes, and so oftentimes a lot of the woes of Hispanic America, the different individual countries, they like to place the blame on Spain. However, they are absolutely taking responsibility off themselves, and there's been much corruption that has nothing to do with the Spanish Empire, and it's something that they have to address. And in fact, I find, for example, like in Mexico, I find it ironic that the presidents have been asking the Spanish to say sorry for the conquest of Tenochtitlan. Mind you, this is not Mexico. Mexico didn't exist at that time. No, they want him to say sorry, but they say nothing to the United States, who's taken over 60% of the territory. And so it's ironic, you know, because in reality is they just, instead of taking responsibility and taking care of the people with this impotency that they have, they feel the need to cast the blame on Spain, I guess. And so, but I think it's a big mistake, because with ignorance of this history is ignorance of our present time, and what is really happening right now in these countries too, especially. I find it ironic that you have more Netflix series and movies and documentaries celebrating narcotráfico and celebrating these, you know, these kingpins, but yet if I were to try to ask for a series on Hernan Cortes or the conquistadores, oh, that'd be an atrocity. It's impossible to fathom. But the narcos have killed way more people than the conquistadores did, and that's a fact. No. This is what we're doing, and we're working on defeating the Spanish Black Legend. And so, yes, this is why, and because of this time, we have the amount of Native Americans and mestizos that we have till this day, and it's thanks to some of the protections that have been in place from that time period.
So going on with this new year, what are some of the plans you have?
So yes, I have a few. I have possibly I have a couple projects. I'll let some of them play out, but I want to continue collaborating with many different people,
Okay.
and it's been extremely enriching.
What are some current issues, current events that have made you think about how to talk about the new history you're studying?
Well, I've seen a lot of change, and I've seen a lot of people come to me, and they've been very grateful. It's amazing to see every day these incredibly inspired people, and obviously it's not me, right? It's the everything that we've been working for. So, for example, I met an individual. He has about 30,000 subscribers or followers on Instagram. He himself, I mean, he's got el aspa de Borgoña, what I have tattooed right here. He got it on his head. He's got Plus Ultra on the other side. The guy's amazing. He's incredible. He's very talented with and meticulous with his investigating. So it's just incredible, and that's what I'm trying to say. That I don't just see this thing growing, but it's converting, right? It's changing people, and people are leaving behind some of these victimist narratives that we have, and I see, and I encourage everyone else too, who's maybe interested in doing work like this. I like to encourage people to do it, and even if you don't feel prepared, it's it's great, and it's great that you want to do it, and I think you should do it. You can't wait for to be perfect to do it, and there are so many other people out there who know less than you, and yet they're opening their mouths and spewing nonsense all the time. So hey, if they can do it, go ahead, and I'm sure you'll find your way to you'll learn, right? And just like myself and other people who I've seen grow. But yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. For the past year, I've seen a lot of that.
And what are some like research topics that you would like maybe want like these people to kind of look up or
I
just
think there's about because first of all, the Spanish Black Legend it's key to understand what that is. The Spanish Black Legend are historical distortions regarding the Hispanic past, and either through propaganda that really amped up during the Protestant Reformation and the releasing of the printing press, and it has been clearly taking over our entertainment industry, and we see it in the movies. We all have grown up watching how the conquistadores have been the worst of the worst, right? They're basically Vikings, right? Without understanding the full context of these issues and what really happened, oftentimes from flat out lies to half truths. So I think you must study the Spanish Black Legend. Look into it. You'll be very surprised what you see. So among the Spanish Black Legend rumors we have one that I like is Spain stole the gold. That's why Hispanic America is so poor. It's because Spain stole it all. It's all in your churches. Give it back. That's what they say, right? It's no. It's you look into it a lot more and see what really happens and see how much gold is being taken out at this very moment and why these same presidencies in Hispanic America say absolutely nothing about these companies from like Canada or the United States coming in and taking out more gold than was taken out in hundreds of years. So, yes, another one is the Spanish Inquisition. Y'all forced the Native Americans to convert to Catholicism through the Spanish Inquisition. They tortured and killed those who wouldn't, and you begin to understand that the Spanish Inquisition actually prohibited judging Native people. And then you start to get into the other complexities of everything too. And then you have another one. The conquistadores, they committed a genocide in Americas. That's another big one, right? Genocide, a term too loosely used. It's almost void of its meaning. But no, according to the definition, no, Spain never committed a genocide in the Americas. And then another one is the native. There was a racially strict caste system. And there was no mobility from outside of these caste systems that were placed. That racially, people of different races were stuck in their genre there, and what they could do, limited in what they could do, and the historical figures clearly disprove this. We have individuals, elite Native American people in the Spanish Empire, which was a kingdom of kingdoms. You had like the Inca kingdom was recognized as a noble house under the Spanish Empire as well. You also had the Tlaxcalans, as I had mentioned before. So yes, it's just not true. And mestizaje in its own, no racist society is promoting more mestizaje. Not a true racism that we see in the 20th century by eugenics, perhaps. So yes, those are some key things that I remember. I can tell you off the top of my head that I see every time spewed on nonsense online. So
So these, the ones you mentioned, are probably the most common legends you hear. And what are some resources maybe you want to provide? Yeah, some resources that you found helpful.
Oh yeah.
You found like.
Well, there's a great book. I mean, a great magazine I want to recommend. It's from my friends at La Asociación Cultural Héroes de Cavite. Heroes of Cavite Cultural Association. They have a great magazine that's both in English and Spanish, and it talks about the Hispanic history, Hispanic roots of the United States of America. It's just a very clear, just talk about who went where, right? It doesn't really get into all the emotions and the attitudes and all that. It's very just this is who went where, right, throughout what is now the United States. That's a good one just to get some clarity about where Spanish speakers have been in the United States before even English speakers were here. So that's one for sure. Another one to debunk the Spanish Black legend, you have Imperiophobia by Maria Elvira Roca Barea. I really appreciate that work. People, it's an incredible book. I feel like there's a before and after with this text. And I believe she's an agnostic or an atheist, but yet she's just a strong defender of the truth. And and she's actually finds herself defending Catholics a lot of times, even more than some Catholics. So I appreciate that work as well. You have also another one that's pretty good is España contra su leyenda negra, I want to say it's called, by Javier Rubio, the creator of the channel Academia Play. Mind you, these books are in Spanish, so there's also ones in English. I want to say The Tree of Hate by Philip Howell, I want to say. We also have the channel, the YouTube channel, go to Brigada Antifraude. He debunks every anti-Hispanista that's out there, every narrative that's out there. He's been a central part of my learning. And then you have Marcelo Gullo, who has a 3-book series. He's got Madre Patria, Nada por lo que pedir perdón, and he has Lo que América le debe a España. And these books are in Spanish. Very, very strong, very strongly voiced books. And in fact, I think Nada por lo que pedir perdón actually was just translated into French. And God willing, we'll get it into English as well soon.
So what we'll do is we'll grab the best resources we could find and we'll just put them under the YouTube video. And yeah, I think people will not only be awakened by the material, and people who, and what's beautiful what you said, when you have somebody who is agnostic who will be defending Catholics, and it's the same thing. Like if I have a atheist friend, agnostic or Muslim friend, whatever religion or faith or worldview he has, if he's defending the historical truth, I'm gonna go with him. Like I can't be impartial there.
Yeah.
I can't be like, well, he's an atheist, I can't agree with him. I was like, no, this is a historical fact, and if I want to stay within reason, I actually had to, follow him or follow her or whatever it is. And I've noticed that that's one quality that in this channel it definitely amplifies. It has that quality of very different people coming together with very different worldviews,
yes,
with very different political beliefs,
yes,
and they can all agree, if they want to stay within reason, that there is a lot of good Spanish influence, and a lot of these false narratives and false myths about the Spanish are once studied at a small portion of time, you realize quickly that they're false.
Yeah.
And Yeah, and that's one thing I appreciate definitely of the channel, of the work you do. And it was the same thing for me when studying philosophy. I had very good friends who are atheists, very good friends who are Protestants, and I get along with them all really well because they try to follow the truth to the best ability, and it's very difficult to do. It's a very lonely path in a way. And no, I just applaud you for your efforts and for the people who do this work. And I know it's a solitary road, So, but I'm glad everyone's kind of unifying in this road.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you said that. There's so many different types of people who show up on my channel.
What is one last message you want to leave to your followers? I don't know. It's been beautiful to see your channel grow, and everyone like when say somebody comments on your channel, right? You don't necessarily have to be there to reply. You can have you have like this whole brother sister community kind of defending you in a way, but also defending just the truth of the
Yeah,
matter.
yeah, that's
Yeah, and it's kind of beautiful that it kind of just it's just this built-in family that just they
that's true. I met some amazing people even out here in Northern California. I'm really impressed. Folks in San Jose, Richmond, all kinds of places. People and even people in SoCal, all over the place. But the last message, I mean, if you hear something super exaggerated, just like disrespectful, well, that's just easier to debunk. They're just further away from they're that far away from the truth, right? So that's easy. That's light work. But yeah, just keep that in mind. That's what I keep in mind, so that way I don't get all wild up. I'm like, oh, just feels a knucklehead.
yeah. And I mean, and it's kind of going back to your point that at the end of the day, we also do go back to our families. We have so and sometimes these are comments from strangers, so we shouldn't take this personal take on it.
No.
And maybe some guys try and troll you. There's trolls out there just trying to get an emotion out of you, and maybe they're winning by getting that emotion. So kind of just staying rational, staying calm, staying collective, and remember, we're just here to try to find the truth together. This is a journey. Like this is a process we do together. Like it's
That's
not
true.
like
Yeah.
I think sometimes we get caught up that there's this like property of truth right here, and I own it. And there's not no. It's a participation. We're both participating in this truth. Like when you find some like new idea, a new insight into something, it's beautiful when you say you share with me and you're like, oh, I see that. Now there's a meeting of minds, right? And we just kind of follow it. And it could be a different insight. That insight could come from anybody. And I think that's what you've learned through this work is that, oh, an insight could come from an atheist. Maybe I didn't think that before, right? Or it could come from a Protestant because they have these unique, a model of thinking and unique experience that kind of, or the unique way of doing research because they have unique experiences, right? So they're looking harder, maybe difficult, And to go back to one of your points about certain Catholics, like maybe not knowing this history or not, defending this history. One, it is in Spanish, like you said,
That's right. That's all right.
So it is
Translate.
difficult. You have to, and maybe in the future that might be your work. Who knows, right? It's translating some of these documents
Yeah.
that are beautiful. And
I'm working on translating a book. I've just took my foot off the gas a bit. It's Capitan Peru's Los Incas Hispanos, or also known as Los Incas del Virreinato. And so I started it, but I took some time off because of school starting.
yeah, so
And there's also another thing that's coming up too. I should have mentioned earlier. I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's they're creating another asociación through Héroes de Cavite, and I think it's called Raíces Hispanas. So same topic. The Hispanic roots of the United States.
yeah, and then I just wanted to say thank you for showing support to one of my best friends, and
Thank you.
he's enjoyed this journey, and I can tell because I've been there participating with him and enjoy hearing him, and I'll just thank you guys so much.
All right. Thank you so much for listening, and we appreciate you all.